London has two cities, and most people don't know the second one exists. There's Greater London, 8.9 million people, 32 boroughs, elected mayor, democratic government answering to Parliament. Then there's the City of London, 1.1 square miles, 7,000 residents, governed by medieval corporation answering to no one, exempt from most British law and controlling more of global finance than any other place on earth. The City of London Corporation is not subject to British Parliament, has its own courts, own police force separate from Metropolitan Police, and own government structure dating to 1141 when King Stephen granted the city self-governance charter. Nearly 900 years later, that medieval privilege still operates, a private city-state inside the United Kingdom with constitutional status protecting it from democratic reform. Walk from Tower of London westward along Thames, and you'll cross invisible boundary where British law becomes optional, where corporations literally vote in elections, and where financial power concentrated for centuries operates above parliamentary oversight. But here's what makes this matter beyond fascinating historical anomaly. The City of London sits at the center of global offshore tax haven network holding estimated $36 trillion, more than GDP of United States and China combined. Jersey, Guernsey, Isle of Man, Cayman Islands, British Virgin Islands, Bermuda, tax havens hosting trillions in hidden wealth, all operate under British sovereignty, with City of London financial influence coordinating the architecture. This is the story of how a 1 square mile medieval corporation survived every democratic reform in British history, why corporations vote alongside people in city elections, how this private entity controls more global finance than most nations, what the Remembrancer does sitting in House of Commons monitoring legislation, and why understanding that the City of London is private state operating above British law reveals the dark truth about power. Democracy reformed political systems, but never touched the financial architecture preserving elite control across centuries, and the most powerful financial center on earth is governed by medieval guilds where Goldman Sachs and Merrill Lynch have votes. Let's start with the structure because this sounds impossible, but it's completely legal and documented. The City of London Corporation is governed by Court of Common Council, 100 members including Lord Mayor, 25 aldermen, and 100 common councilmen. Sounds normal until you learn how they're elected. 25 wards elect representatives, but voting rights aren't based on residence, they're based on business presence. If you work in the city, your employer gets votes. If your company has offices in the city, the company gets votes. Approximately 23,000 people vote in City of London elections, but only 9,000 are residents. The other 14,000 votes come from businesses appointing representatives based on number of employees. Companies vote, not people working there casting individual ballots, companies appointing voters proportional to workforce size. Goldman Sachs International, Merrill Lynch, Citigroup, Deutsche Bank, law firms, accounting firms, they all get votes in City of London elections. This isn't historical quirk everyone ignores. This is functioning system where corporations elect government in 21st century. And it gets darker. The composition means finance industry controls most votes. Residents are outnumbered 2-to-1 by business voters, and business voters overwhelmingly represent banks, investment firms, insurance companies, and law firms serving financial industry. The government of the City of London is effectively elected by and accountable to finance industry it's supposed to regulate. Imagine if Wall Street directly elected mayor and council of Manhattan. That's the structure. Except Manhattan doesn't have 900-year constitutional status exempting it from federal law. But here's where it transcends weird voting rules and becomes global power center. The City of London Corporation isn't just governing small area. It controls relationship between Britain and network of offshore tax havens that together hold 40% of global wealth. British Crown dependencies, Jersey, Guernsey, Isle of Man operate under British sovereignty, but outside UK tax jurisdiction. British Overseas Territories, Cayman Islands, British Virgin Islands, Bermuda, Gibraltar, same structure. These aren't accidental tax havens that emerged independently. These are coordinated network operating under British sovereignty with City of London as financial center facilitating and profiting from offshore activity. Jersey holds $1.4 trillion in banking deposits despite population of 100,000. That's $14 million in banking deposits per resident, obviously not residents' money. Cayman Islands hosts over 100,000 registered companies despite population of 65,000. British Virgin Islands hosts 400,000 shell companies with population of 30,000, 13 companies per resident. These aren't economies, they're mailbox services. And the City of London banks facilitate every transaction. Money routes from corporation through City of London Bank to Jersey Holding Company to BVI Shell Company to Cayman account. At each step, City of London financial institutions collect fees, provide services, and ensure smooth operation of system hiding $36 trillion from taxation and regulation. City of London doesn't directly control these territories politically. British Crown and Parliament maintain sovereignty, but City of London controls them financially through banking relationships and expertise making offshore system function. Now here's the mechanism revealing why this matters for global wealth extraction. The offshore system isn't just about hiding money, it's about corporations and ultra-wealthy avoiding taxes while using public infrastructure and legal systems they don't fund. Apple routes European profits through Irish subsidiary, paying 0.005% effective tax rate using double Irish-Dutch sandwich structure. Profits go to Irish company. License to Dutch holding company. Royalties to Caribbean mailbox, ending in zero tax jurisdiction. Google uses similar double Irish arrangement, shifting billions to Bermuda, paying approximately 2% tax on foreign profits. Amazon routes European revenue through Luxembourg, paying minimal tax. These structures require City of London banks providing accounts, lawyers drafting agreements, accountants certifying structures, and financial expertise making it work. The corporations avoid approximately $100 billion annually in taxes through these structures, money that would fund schools, healthcare, infrastructure in countries where revenue is actually generated. Instead, it sits in Cayman Islands accounts or BVI shell companies, and City of London banks collect fees from every transaction. But here's the truly devastating scale. Not just corporations, ultra-wealthy individuals hide estimated $36 trillion in offshore tax havens globally. That's more than annual GDP of United States, $28 trillion, and China, $17 trillion combined. $36 trillion earning returns, compounding wealth, funding purchases, but paying zero taxes because it's hidden in structures facilitated by City of London network. National governments lose approximately $600 billion annually in tax revenue to offshore avoidance while cutting social programs claiming insufficient funds. The money exists, it's just hidden in system the City of London operates at the center of, collecting fees from wealth hiding while public services in democratic nations crumble from lack of funds. But wait, here's where the constitutional protection becomes crucial, because you might ask, why doesn't British Parliament shut this down? Answer: they legally cannot without City of London Corporation consent. The City of London has constitutional status protecting its privileges, confirmed by multiple monarchs across centuries and never revoked by Parliament. The corporation holds ancient charters and rights that Parliament has repeatedly recognized and reaffirmed. Magna Carta, 1215, explicitly confirmed City of London's ancient liberties. The most famous constitutional document in English history protects City of London privileges. Multiple monarchs granted and confirmed these rights. Edward the Confessor, William the Conqueror, King John, Henry III, Edward I. Every monarch recognized city self-governance because the city controlled wealth needed to finance the crown. By the time Parliament gained power over monarchy, the city's constitutional position was already 900 years established and too powerful to challenge. The City of London Corporation survived English Civil War, 1642 to 1651, maintaining privileges while monarchy temporarily abolished. Survived Glorious Revolution, 1688, when Parliament asserted supremacy over Crown. Survived 19th-century democratic reforms extending voting rights. Survived 20th-century reforms establishing universal suffrage and dismantling aristocratic privilege. Every democratic advance in British history flowed around the City of London like water around island, never touching its medieval structure, because attacking it meant attacking financial power Parliament needed to function. And here's the enforcement mechanism, proving this isn't just historical artifact. The City of London maintains active political power through the Remembrancer. This is completely real and completely documented. The City of London Corporation employs an official called the Remembrancer, current title. City Remembrancer, whose job is to sit in House of Commons during sessions monitoring legislation that might affect city interests. The Remembrancer is the only non-member allowed on the floor of House of Commons during sessions, sits in special chair behind Speaker's chair, observes debates, and ensures City of London Corporation is informed of any legislation affecting the square mile. If bill threatens city interests, Remembrancer communicates with corporation leadership, who then lobby MPs, and legislation is modified or killed. This is permanent lobbyist with physical presence in Parliament, funded by private corporation, monitoring democratic process in real time. Imagine if J.P. Morgan Chase had permanent representative sitting in U.S. House of Representatives during sessions with constitutional right to be there. That's what exists in Britain, except the representative represents not one bank, but entire financial district operating as private government. The Remembrancer position has existed since 14 years after Magna Carta and continues today. Democratic reforms created elected parliament, eliminated hereditary peers' voting rights, extended universal suffrage, but never removed the City of London's permanent lobbyist from parliamentary floor because constitutional status protects it. But here's where historical continuity reveals the pattern connecting medieval privilege to modern finance. The City of London Corporation has existed in continuous operation for over 1,000 years, longer than any other democratic institution in Britain and possibly Europe. Parliament in current form dates to 13th century, but was repeatedly dissolved, reformed, and changed. The monarchy was temporarily abolished, permanently reformed, and reduced to ceremonial role. British Empire rose and fell, but the City of London Corporation governing structure from 1141 functions essentially unchanged today. Same Court of Common Council, same aldermen and wards, same exemption from parliamentary oversight, same financial power. Why? Because every government, monarchy, parliament, democracy, needed the city's financial cooperation to function. Kings needed loans to finance wars and couldn't tax nobility heavily. Parliament needed financial sector to fund government operations. Modern democracy needs City of London cooperation to maintain London's status as global financial center, generating tax revenue and employment. The relationship is symbiotic but unequal. Government needs city more than city needs government. Every attempt to regulate or reform the city faces threat. Overregulate us, and we'll move to Frankfurt, New York, Singapore, take the financial industry and tax revenue with us. This threat worked for 900 years and still works today. So the city maintains medieval governance where corporations vote, exemption from standard British law in areas affecting finance, constitutional protection from parliamentary reform, and permanent lobbyist monitoring commons. Democracy happened around it, not to it. The modern parallel making this relevant beyond British peculiarity. The City of London operates like Vatican City, a private city-state inside another country with special sovereignty and legal status. Vatican City is 0.44 square kilometers inside Rome with 800 residents, full diplomatic immunity, separate legal system, and exemption from Italian law. Exists as sovereign entity negotiating treaties, sending ambassadors, and operating above Italian jurisdiction despite being physically inside Italy. The City of London is 1.1 square miles inside London with 7,000 residents, separate legal system, exemption from most British law, and constitutional status protecting privileges despite being physically inside United Kingdom. Parallel reveals the pattern. When entity controls something nations need, Vatican, religious legitimacy for Catholic countries, City of London, financial services for global economy, that entity extracts sovereignty in exchange. Vatican extracted permanent sovereignty in exchange for recognizing Italian unification 1929 through Lateran Treaty. City of London extracted permanent constitutional protection in exchange for financing British government across centuries. Both are private states operating above national law inside nations that theoretically could abolish them, but practically cannot because the leverage is reversed. The city-states hold what nations need more than nations hold what city-states need. Now here's the extraction operating through this structure, and this is where we connect to empire economics. The City of London doesn't just govern itself, it operates as coordinating center for global tax avoidance, extracting $600 billion annually from national governments, while those governments cut social programs. The mechanism is brilliant. Money earned in country A, say United States, by Corporation B, say Google, is routed through structures facilitated by City of London banks to tax haven C, say Bermuda, where it pays zero tax. Corporation B saves 35% tax, former U.S. corporate rate. City of London Bank collects fees on transactions. Tax haven C collects incorporation fees, and country A loses tax revenue used to fund schools and healthcare. The corporation extracts from country where revenue generated. The City of London extracts fees for facilitating avoidance. The tax haven extracts incorporation revenue, and citizens of country pay through reduced services or higher taxes making up shortfall. Scale this across global economy. $600 billion annually lost to offshore tax avoidance, $36 trillion hidden in tax havens, and City of London sitting at center collecting transaction fees from largest wealth-hiding operation in human history. This is extraction over creation, pattern 8. The City of London doesn't produce goods or services, it facilitates tax avoidance and wealth hiding, extracting fees from capital flows designed to avoid contributing to societies where wealth was generated. And it operates above British law through constitutional status, protecting 900-year-old privileges that survive every democratic reform, because financial power trumps political power when government needs Wall Street more than Wall Street needs government. This is the empire economy. The City of London Corporation is 1.1 square mile private city-state inside Britain governed by medieval structure, where approximately 25 of 108 voters are corporations including Goldman Sachs and Merrill Lynch voting in elections. Exempt from most British law through constitutional status confirmed by Magna Carta and 900 years of royal charters. Operating separate police force and court system. Maintaining permanent lobbyist, the remembrancer, sitting in House of Commons monitoring legislation affecting city interests, and controlling network of offshore tax havens holding $36 trillion in hidden wealth. Jersey holds $1.4 trillion in banking deposits with population 100,000. Cayman Islands hosts 100,000 registered companies with population 65,000. British Virgin Islands hosts 400,000 shell companies with population 30,000. All under British sovereignty, with City of London banks facilitating transactions and collecting fees. Global corporations route profits through structures coordinated by City of London financial expertise, avoiding approximately $100 billion in annual taxes, while ultra-wealthy hide $36 trillion in offshore accounts, equivalent to more than US and China combined GDP, extracting $600 billion annually from national governments that cut social programs claiming insufficient revenue. The City of London survived English Civil War, Glorious Revolution, 19th century democratic reforms, 20th century universal suffrage, and European Union regulations, maintaining medieval governance. Because every British government for 1,000 years needed city financial cooperation more than city needed government permission. The pattern proves democracy reformed political systems, but never touched financial architecture. Parliament gained supremacy over monarchy, aristocratic privilege was eliminated, universal suffrage was established, hereditary peers lost voting rights. But City of London Corporation kept structure from 1141 where corporations vote, maintained exemption from parliamentary oversight, preserved constitutional protection from reform, and expanded from financing British monarchy to coordinating global tax avoidance network. Modern parallel to Vatican City reveals the mechanism. Private city-states controlling resources nations need, Vatican. Religious legitimacy, City of London. Financial services, extract sovereignty in exchange for cooperation. Operate above national law inside nations that theoretically could eliminate them, but practically cannot because leverage is reversed. The City of London is not accident or anomaly. Its preservation of financial elite power across centuries through structure that appeared to submit to democracy, while maintaining actual control through constitutional protection, permanent parliamentary presence, and indispensability to government finance. When $36 trillion hides offshore avoiding taxes that would fund public services, when corporations vote in elections determining who governs financial center, when private corporation has permanent lobbyist monitoring democratic parliament, when medieval governance survives 1,000 years of democratic reform, you're seeing proof that empires don't end when political systems change. Financial power persists through institutional structures protecting elite control. Democracy changes who appears to govern while leaving wealth architecture untouched. And the most powerful square mile on earth is private state inside democracy, operating above democratic law. Because financial power trumps political power when government needs, banks more than banks need government permission to facilitate the largest tax avoidance operation in human history.